Okay, so the next task I need for you to work on is adding Diagnostic Interim 2021 to teacher users. So if you click on task 3, if you go to Canvas in task 3, if you click on it, it says this. So adding Diagnostic Interim 2021 to teacher users. Teachers who will be grading or scoring diagnostics or interims for 2021 will need access to 2021 Diagnostic Interim and DRC. Now remember, the diagnostic interim is only for math and ELA. So if you have a science teacher, there's no reason for that teacher to have access. So only math and ELA teachers will need access. And so the resources for completing this task can be found here. So if you click on this, it will bring you to this page. So assigning diagnostic interim to a user. Now here's the situation. There are two approaches. You will need to assign each math and ELA teacher who will be grading, scoring the diagnostic interims, the administration of diagnostic interim 2020-21. If a user already has access to DRC, then use the following resource which contains the steps. If a user does not have an administration in DRC, use the following resource. So for example, if it's a new teacher, just graduated from college or just is starting teaching career, then you would use number 2. If you know that teacher was at your school last year, then you would use number 1. All right, so let's look at number 1. So number 1, if you click on it, um, let me see where it opens up. Let's see. Okay, it's good. It's opening up down here. So it's going to take a while. Here it is. All right. So here's number 1. So note it's eight pages. So just make sure before you do anything in DRC that you go through these 8 pages. All right. So it's step by step. It's basically the same thing that was used last year. So no one really had any issues reading this. So I think it's self-explanatory. So you just go step by step. Um, so there are 8 pages. Steps 1, step 2, keep scrolling down. Um, then it breaks down into separate sections. So just read this. You should have no difficulty at all. All right. So that was using number 1. Okay. Now number 2. So if the teacher is new to teaching career, or if the teacher was at a private school and is new to your school, then you would use add a teacher right here, number 2. And so notice what that looks like. And so if I open it up, it says adding a single user. So it's only 3 pages, so it's a little bit easier to deal with. So there are different steps, um, and notice that I have it broken down into what needs to be added and so forth. So just make sure you go through this and you read all this before you actually do anything. Okay, now let me just say this. I'm going to bring something over. All right, so look at this carefully. All right, so this is the part that talks about view dynamic reports, and that's true for whether you use number 1 or number 2 resource. Okay, so in the past, when we were all at school, the test coordinator was the only one that had access to view dynamic reports. So the test coordinator, remember, was the one that printed the reports and sent it to the teachers. Well, since students are doing this at home, you need to discuss with your principal who will be distributing the reports to students or parents. So is it you still as a test coordinator, or is it the teacher? So this year's a little bit different. At least the first month is a little bit different. So you need to actually think about this and discuss this with your principal, because if it's you, then depending on where the teacher is, if the teacher's coming to the school or if the teacher's teaching at home, um, then it may be easier if the teacher's given that permission. So discuss this with the principal, and the principal also needs to discuss this with the school's executive director. If it is the teacher that will be distributing the reports to to students, and keep in mind that the teacher has access to all the students at the school if you give that person dynamic view dynamic reports. um, then if it is a teacher, then in both cases, at some point, you will have to add the extra permission of view dynamic reports, and it's also stated in these documents. All right, so just keep in mind that at some point you may need to add the extra permission of view dynamic reports. Okay, so that should help you with this task. So remember, this task I want you to do is task number 3 here, in which you have to add to each math and ELA teacher that will be dealing with LEAP 360, both diagnostic and interims, this administration of diagnostic interim 2020-21.